Are you with me? So, there are things that we are going through, that you have to go through as part of your education in God. And then comes the breakthrough. You see, and that's why sometimes it's like for a long time, things will be going a certain way and a certain way and a certain way, but then comes the breakthrough. Now, Joseph, for instance, was in prison for 12 years. And that's a long time to be in prison. That's a long time to be in prison. He was in prison for 12 years. He was 17 years old when he was captured and sold twice. He was sold to the Midianites, and then the Midianites sold him to the Ishmaelites. If you read the Bible, you see it's all there. And the Ishmaelites took him to Egypt, and he sold him again 3 times. So he was actually sold 3 times. Yeah. And he stayed in Potiphar's house for 1 year. It was at the end of 1 year that Potiphar's wife, whose name is actually Zelika. Yes. Potiphar's wife approached him. And the whole crisis began. And when Potiphar's wife took him up and he refused, as he was running away from her, his clothes got torn. I don't know why I'm telling you all these stories. Are you interested in all these stories? His clothes got torn. And then she realized that there was going to be a crisis. So she started shouting, and then the people came, and then they called for Potiphar, who had gone to town, who was not around. So when Potiphar came, then they took Joseph and they started to beat him. And Joseph explained and said, look, I've been here for 1 year. I've not done anything like this. Have you heard of anything like this? But they would not believe him. And so many things have, I don't know whether to bother you with all the... Are you sure you want to know all these things? So they wanted to beat, they were beating him, and of course they were going to kill him. And then, according to the story, there was an 11-month-old baby child there. The child was only 11 months old. And suddenly the child spoke. How old are you supposed to be when you start speaking? 1, you start saying, yeah. This is, so 11 months. And the child spoke and said, this is what has been happening all along. Yes. And everybody was stunned. Yeah. Because you see, it is amazing that Joseph wasn't killed. If you think about it, a slave who was taken should have been killed. And then the child spoke. And when the child spoke, everybody was stunned. And then the child stopped speaking. Wouldn't speak. So they were confused. So then they decided to call priests, the priests of Midian. And this priest came to come and judge in the matter. So the priest said, let us go for the cloth that was torn and see which side was torn. If it was torn in the front or if it was torn in the back. If it was torn in the front, it means that she was face to face. He was face to face with the lady, and not that he was running or whatever. So when they brought the clothes, they saw that it was torn in the front. And they realized that there's something wrong with the story. So they sent Potiphar to the prison. And they sent Joseph to the prison. And Joseph was in the prison for 12 good years. And it was after 10 years that the baker and the butler had the dream. And when the baker, listen, it's very connected to your breakthrough. Listen. Lamasha katabalore. It was 10 years. It was 10 years after that he was there. Now, whilst he was in the prison, the baker had a dream, the butler had a dream. He interpreted all the two dreams. And then when they were going out of the prison, he told the butler, remember me when you go and you are free. Now, when the butler went, he completed, there was actually a feast. Pharaoh was doing a feast, and he needed the butler to come back to help. So, and the reason why the butler was put in the prison was because flies were found in the wine that he was serving to Pharaoh. And the reason why the baker was in the prison was that some stones were found in the bread that he served to Pharaoh. Yes. Please, I hope you are listening to what I'm saying. Yeah. Now, when the butler went out, are you listening? It's very connected to your breakthrough. When the butler went out, okay, he completely forgot, I think because of the celebrations or whatever. But then, as the book says, is that it was of the Lord that he should forget it, because Joseph trusted in man. He put his trust in man. So it was of the Lord that he should forget about it, because he put his trust in man. You see, when I read that, I was really touched. That, you see, putting your trust out, when you go, you speak for me. When you go, you make the connection for me. You help me to do this. Help me to do that. And it was of the Lord to forget about him for another 2 years. Do you see? And then 2 years later, then he was remembered, because what do you call it? Had a dream. Pharaoh had a dream. And the people came with all sorts of interpretations. One of them said that the 7 cows are 7 wives you will marry. I mean, I don't want to bother you with all those. The different interpretations that they had. One said that these are 7 cities that you will build in your lifetime. One said that these are 7 kings, 7 sons that will be born to you, another son that will come and they will kill these ones. All will happen in your lifetime. Different. But Pharaoh said, no. I don't want to bother you with all this. But what I want you to know is that when it comes to breakthroughs, the power of God is very much, you see, there are supernatural things that have to do with your breakthrough in this life. Yes. And you must know that there is a supernatural element in all the things. And there are lines, there are people that are chosen. You see, when you read the history, you see that Noah was alive when Abraham was alive. When Abraham was born, Noah was alive. You just have to look in your Bible and see the dates and the times. Because Noah lived to be 950 years. So all the people were born. His son Shem was over 500. So they were alive for a long time. It's from Abraham and Koda they started to reduce to less than 200 years. And now you see what we are left with. You see that now you are looking old. Is it not true? Yes. Mercy. So there is a supernatural element. And all through, when God chooses you, he chose Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There were many others. But it was those who God chose and those who he had blessed. And he had a blessing that was planned for Jacob and through his sons, Joseph. Joseph was special. He was the youngest, or one of the youngest. But there was a special mantle upon him to do well. So even if you are the youngest, don't worry. Or you are not the first in a certain order. You may be the one who God has chosen. And when the time comes for a breakthrough, for the supernatural element, you must respect it. And you must also induce it by doing supernatural things. For anybody sitting in this room to give an offering today, it means you believe in supernatural things. Because there is not even one person here who doesn't need the money that is in your pocket. Have I told a lie? I said that everybody here needs the money. In fact, if you think clearly, you will see so much that you did and that you need money for. And why would you take 10% or more and give it to the house of God, to the church, and to the work of God? The only reason you do something like that is because you believe in the supernatural. When Jesus says, give and it shall be given to you. Giving will cause supernatural things to work in your life. You don't have to believe it, but if you believe in supernatural things, which I do, I want you to actually believe that there is a supernatural element. I don't need to really convince you much about that, but I'm sure you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here. There is a supernatural element in everything. You see, when Joseph gave his interpretation, one has said this to be 7 princes that will be born. One said it will be 7 queens. One said there will be 7 cities you build. One said there will be 7 children you are going to give birth to. And another 7 children, 7 lean cows are 7 bad children who come and kill the 7 good children. Lot of interpretations. So when Joseph came and said these are 7 good years, and the 7 evil years of famine are coming to eat up, then Pharaoh asked him that, so how do we know that what you are saying is also true? Yes. It is the supernatural element that is present, and you see, God does not need to and does not produce his supernatural input in a way all the time at your whim and fancy when you feel like, but as and when he chooses to. So when he asked Joseph, if you look at Joseph's life, you see that when he was put in the pit, it was full. There were serpents, there were snakes, there were scorpions, and all those things. And he wailed and he cried. Nobody came to save him. It was when the Midianites were passing that they heard him crying. They pulled him out. When he was going, he told them, my father is a rich man. He will give you a lot of money. If you take me to my father, I promise you. Nobody listened to him. Then the Midianites at a point became afraid of him, of this person. Because you see, he was a nice person. He didn't look like a slave. Then they sold him to the Ishmaelites because they didn't want to keep him. Okay. And the Ishmaelites also were not happy. There were some thunderstorms on the way. And they said, there's something about this guy. Yes. There is a supernatural element in your life when God's hand is over you all through your life. Give the Lord a shout of hallelujah. I tell you, when Joseph was asked, so this one says 7 queens, this one says 7 princes, this one says 7 whatever. How do we know that is true? Then God gave Joseph a word of knowledge. Yes. And Joseph said, one of your wives right now is sitting on a stool giving birth. As we speak. One of your children who is 2 years old will die today, and one will be born today. She is sitting on the stool right now, and you will be comforted by the one that is born. And Pharaoh was in the house when he heard lamentations, and he said, what is it? He said, the child is one of the children had died. and one had been born. By that time, they had sent Joseph back to the prison. Joseph was in the prison. They took him back, straight back. When he came, he gave his reputation back. Yes. So he was back there when they came and brought him again. Charlie, the breakthrough is real. It looked as if it wasn't coming, but it is real. Give the Lord a shout for your breakthrough which is coming online. There is a supernatural element in your life, and you must believe it.